Are new Chevy and GMC heavy-duty transmissions failing?
This is a big question and something that we want to tackle in today's video because, like many of you have probably seen, about a year ago there was a pretty massive recall on some of these transmissions, but we've got reason to believe that the recall might affect even newer vehicles that weren't in the initial recall.
Exactly, and the emphasis here is on new. We're talking about pickup trucks with model years 2025, 2024, 2023, so very recent vehicles. This is kind of a big deal, and we usually don't make these videos lightly, right? We put a lot of consideration into them. We're also owners of a 2025 Chevy Silverado heavy duty with an Allison branded 10-speed automatic transmission. And we have a lot of reports, also NHTSA complaints that we can show with these transmissions having problems.
Yeah, like you said, we have one of these transmissions, a 10L1000, in our own garage.
Yes.
So this affects us as well as hundreds of thousands of other trucks and truck owners.
Yeah, potentially. Let's define the issue, right? So like you said, there was a recall last year in November that we reported on. Our producer, Zach Butler, has an entire article on TFLtruck.com that we could show you as well here. And the issue has to do with a valve in the valve body of the transmission potentially failing. I mean, not 100% failures, right? But this is happening often enough that it got recalled. And, well, how does it manifest itself?
So the biggest issue that was happening initially that the first recall and eventually stop sale was for the rear wheels locking up because of a failure in this transmission. And GM created a software fix so that the vehicle won't have that wheel lockup situation, which is a good thing in general because if you're especially towing a trailer, but even if you're driving around unladen and your rear wheels lock up, obviously, it's going to be very difficult to control your vehicle. That's a pretty substantial failure. However, from what we're reading, what we're seeing, and reports on the NHTSA website, as well as owners' own testimonials, it seems like that software fix keeps the wheels from locking up, but it's not addressing the root cause of these valve bodies and the valves in them having issues themselves.
Yeah, so there's a quote-unquote limp mode, right? So what can happen is the truck will remain in fifth gear and won't go into higher gears. There's also going to be a message on the display saying something about limited power or limited propulsion.
And that's how they prevent the rear wheels from locking up, because it sounds like the rear wheels usually lock up in a downshift condition out of eighth gear.
Exactly. And then there could be also check engine light. And certain codes, specifically P0700 and P0747 codes that can come up as well. And then, of course, you will take it to the dealership or a certified mechanic, and then they will replace the valve or the valve body of the transmission. And it's not clear exactly if the root cause is being fixed, but also what we are hearing is that there's a big weight that's associated with this fix.
Yeah, a lot of these parts are pretty difficult to get your hands on, which means owners of trucks could be left without a truck to tow with for an extended period of time, several weeks. And that's obviously not a good thing because especially if you're out going cross-country, pulling a trailer with your truck ends up stranded, your trailer is also stranded.
Exactly, which could be a big deal. So we have one report from one of our viewers. This is Matt. And he is an owner of a 2024 Chevy Diesel 2500 Silverado custom trim. You can see a picture of his truck. He actually got stranded with a transmission failure in Colorado, near Castle Rock. So he kind of reached out to us because he kind of knew we were nearby.
Yeah.
But note, his truck is not on this recall. It's a 2024.
And that's one of the interesting things. One of the reasons that we're asking if new trucks are affected by this as well, because the initial recall from last year was for 2020 to 2022 models, and it was about 460,000 vehicles. So quite a big recall.
Yeah.
However, we're seeing some people reach out to us, as well as forum posts and NHTSA complaints from drivers of newer trucks that weren't in that 2020 to 2022 initial recall. So this could be an issue as well for 2023, 2024 and 2025 trucks.
Exactly. Our close friend Alan, who owns a business in Denver, actually reported a transmission fluid leak, and he took it to actually 3 different dealerships and finally got his truck fixed. There was also a little bit of a delay there because a tool needed to make a repair in his transmission was also not available.
So his truck was out of commission for a while.
Yeah, so we have a report on that. His truck had about 1,300 miles when he noticed a transmission fluid leak.
Yeah.
He did not have a limp mode, or he did not have a lockup in his case.
But some of these issues can happen with pretty low mileage.
Yeah, pretty low mileage and kind of a really new vehicles like we're talking about. But I also want to complement this transmission. So if we go to Cole, if we go to a recent test drag race YouTube video that we did, like you said, we are owners of a truck with this transmission. We've put I think near 10,000 miles on this truck, and we did not treat it lightly.
No, and so far, ours, fingers and toes and everything's crossed, knock on wood, it hasn't put a foot wrong. So our 10-speed has been just fine, and our truck is actually really quick. Consistently, we've even seen, and especially unladen, that truck be able to put its power down sometimes better than the high output Power Stroke that has more power than it. So this is it's a quick truck in a drag race. We've put a lot of trailers with it. It's done a great job with that. So when this transmission is doing its thing as it's supposed to, it does a really good job.
Yeah, and yesterday our marketing director, Grant, used this Silverado heavy duty, our truck, to pull a trailer 320 miles. He had to deliver the trailer. So we use it weekly, daily, all the time.
And that's a relatively short trip for what we use that truck for. In fact, in the next hour or so, we got to rock,
leave.
paper, scissors, but one of us is probably going to be driving that truck and a trailer out to Moab, 6-hour drive, and
to recover
right
a vehicle.
So we use the truck a lot, to your point, and we started towing with it right from the get-go, because that's what we got to do when we buy a truck. So like you said, we haven't been easy on ours, and ours so far hasn't put a foot wrong. And that's one of the reasons that we buy these vehicles, so that we can see for ourselves and test them out. So we'll keep everyone updated on how ours goes. But beyond some of the anecdotes that people have reached out to us with, or forum posts that we've seen, there are also documented complaints about this issue with the valve body on newer trucks on the NHTSA website.
Yeah, so NHTSA is a government agency, right? And anybody, you and I can submit a complaint about any vehicle, but it's vetted, right? It's checked. Yeah. You have to fill out different forms, like if a crash or an injury was related to a particular incident. So far, we're not seeing any crashes. All the complaints I've seen, or any injuries or deaths related to this particular issue. But there's another complaint from Washington State about a 2023 model vehicle with a transmission failure, very similar limp mode, very similar condition.
Yeah, and in the summary of this complaint on the NHTSA website, it says, at the very end, seems like 2023 to 2025 vehicles should be added to the original recall, which is really
a fair comment.
Yeah, which is what we're making this video about and the reason for it.
Exactly. So there's not just one complaint here on NHTSA website. There's several, not all 12, but I think like 4 or so related to this issue. And that's just 2023. Very similar for 2024 models as well. So this is not just emails we're receiving and information we're receiving from our friends and viewers, but also the government is receiving these questions as well.
Exactly. So it's got the potential to end up being a pretty large recall. The initial recall from last year was already significant at over 460,000 vehicles. That's a lot.
Yeah. And also currently all gasoline-powered heavy duties and all diesel-powered heavy duties have basically the same transmission, which is 10L1000. That's the name of this, kind of the code name of this transmission. Of course, some internal things may be slightly different, but it's under the same name.
Yeah, exactly. And it does seem like there are some differences, because there is a third generation valve body design that works on some of the gas-powered 10-speed transmissions that apparently isn't a fit for some of the diesel 10-speed transmissions. So it'll be interesting to see what the ultimate fix is going to be for this. But obviously, it's never good news when we've got people reaching out to us about being stranded many hours from home.
Exactly. And specifically with a heavy-duty vehicle, I mean, you can make an argument when any vehicle breaks, it's a terrible thing because you're depending on that particular vehicle. But if you're pulling a heavy trailer or you're far from home, which we often are,
Yeah.
it just kind of compounds that issue.
Yeah.
Plus, you need to make money, right? It's about being productive with your vehicle.
Yeah, a lot of these are company vehicles, so money is being lost day by day,
Hour by hour.
when these vehicles are out of commission. And as well, to your point, if you're pulling a big trailer, then not only is your vehicle stranded, but so is the thing or all the things that were being towed. And it's not easy to get a rental that you can use to haul a heavy trailer cross country, especially at any affordable rate.
So as we wrap up, basically, I kind of wanted to kind of raise the awareness of this issue because you've been emailing us and asking us questions and comments about this. We could be affected by this personally. So let us know if you know a little bit something deeper about this problem, or you've maybe fixed your own truck, or just let us know what you're experiencing as well.
Yeah, because this is an ongoing story. It's not wrapped up. I don't think we've seen the conclusion of this, so there will be more news to come, especially if anything ever happens with our truck. Of course, we'll make a video about that because we want to be clear about our personal experiences that we have with our company vehicles. Like I said, that's the whole reason that we buy those machines.
Exactly. And we're lucky enough to buy several of these new vehicles a year. So we'll report on any issues we have to you directly. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.